Doing? Been having some good days, right? Nice and sunshine. Okay, I'm glad to hear that. All right, let's see. Brother Copeland, you lead us in prayer. Okay. Okay, we are in Matthew chapter 5. We're going to try to finish the chapter verses 38 to 48. So we're going to talk about a lot of different things tonight that I hope is going to help you to really understand the mind of Christ and how you and I need to behave ourselves in the world. So, just a few things here. Just a recap. Can somebody give me the 3 points that we've been talking about the last 3 or 4 weeks with the Beatitudes? Okay, the principle, the price, and the prize. Okay, good. And you probably wonder, why did Jesus go straight into verse 17, that think not that I come to destroy the law and the prophets, but I came to fulfill it? Well, that's the very reason why. The things he's talking about things that he's going to be and that we ought to be. He's not really changing anything of the Old Testament. What he's doing, though, the Pharisees and some others, not even the Pharisees, but some others also, taught different things. They had their own slight when it comes to God's doctrine. Look at verse 20 again. Verse 20 lets us know that except our righteousness exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, in no case shall ye enter the kingdom of God in heaven. So the righteousness is the righteousness that we're talking about, the type of righteousness that you and I ought to be living. So tonight, verse 38 to 48, this is the way that we ought to live our daily Christian lives. So this is, I think, is going to be very interesting to you because it's going to be so opposite from what the world says. And even people that claim to be religious, they don't even get as deep as Jesus is going to get with us tonight. So let's look at it. Notice verse 38. You have heard that it has been said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. How many of us heard that term before? You've heard that term before. All right. where did we hear that term? Where did Jesus get that from? Well, he got it from the Old Testament. So here's what I want us to do tonight. I want us to look at some of these Old Testament passages that has this phrase in it, and then I'm going to explain to you what it was talking about and how Jesus is going to tell us how we ought to look at this. So someone turn to Exodus 21. We'll look at verse 23. Exodus 21, 23. And there are other passages in the Bible that deals with this. So I'm going to turn there too. Exodus 21, 23. So we're going to look at some Old Testament stuff. So notice there, verse 23. It says, if any mischief fall, then thou shalt give life for life. And notice Jesus, life for life. Eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Hand for a hand, foot for a foot. Burning for burning, wound or wound, stripe for stripe. So notice that it goes a little further than just an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Now, here's what it's talking about. Under the Mosaic law, there was a law that you had to go to the courts for. And if they found someone guilty of assaulting someone where eye and eye, a hand and a hand, and a foot and a foot, then the courts would have a sentence for that. So what Jesus was talking about was not talking about going against the law of Moses. He was saying that you follow the law of Moses because he was under the law of Moses when he was talking there. But what others have said, well, look here, if this person take my eye out, well, I'm going to revenge myself. I'm not going to let the court to go through the process of going through the courts to solve the a problem. Now, what usually happens when someone try to solve problems themselves when actually the court should solve it, or the jurisdiction system? People get hurt. It's all out of control, right? All right. So here, Jesus is just reminding them, okay, now, we still got to follow the law of God. And sometimes the law may not be always fair in some cases to some, but that's God's ordained, isn't it? And God is going to deal with those that do not follow the law correctly. All right, now, go back to chapter 5. Go back to chapter 5, verse 38 and following. Now, notice what Jesus is going to say now. But I say unto you that ye resist not evil, but whosoever shall smite thee on the right cheek, turn to him the other also. Now, Jesus is not, like I said, going against the Old Testament. He just stated what the Old Testament says, but now he's saying, look here. Here's how I want you to act toward people that may do you wrong. And notice what he says. Do not resist evil, that ye resist not evil. So are there evil people in the world? All right. Now, notice the hitting on the right cheek and turning the other cheek. That has to do with insults. Have any of you ever been insulted? So did someone say yes? They have? Okay. All right. So that didn't feel good, did it? Okay. So now it's interesting. Turn quickly to Luke chapter 6. Look at verse 20, 29. I'm going to show you something. We're going to go back there. We're going to look at synoptics, and I'll explain to that. Synoptics means Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, they say the same thing. They share the same thing. The synoptic gospels is mainly of the Matthew, Mark, and Luke per se. John gives us some things with it. But notice in Luke 6:29, Jesus quotes this way. He says, "Unto him that smite thee on one cheek, offer also the other, and him that taketh away thy cloak, forbid not to take thy coat also." Now, here's what Jesus is trying to say. There's evil people in this world. There's people that are going to insult us. But that doesn't mean you have to retaliate. Doesn't mean that you have to retaliate. What it's saying that you have the right attitude and the disposition to go ahead and take the insult, because that's what people are going to do. Did not Jesus do that? He did, didn't he? Now, the right cheek, hitting the right cheek, left cheek, that's all that is, an insult. So can someone insult you without hitting you? Okay. So how are you going to handle that? Are you going to revenge? Okay. Now, if someone, here's what Jesus is not saying. If you see someone that's getting ready to punch you, duck or block. Don't just stand there. That's not what he's talking about. You need to, do the right thing, because someone can harm you seriously or harm someone in your family seriously. But see, we're living in a society today, if you notice society today, that we are so far from Jesus' thinking. Everybody is about, like, if someone says anything to someone, somebody's going to go off. Now people, even if you say something, people are going to bring out a weapon. They're going to start doing things. It is so violent in our society today. Look at the news lately for the last week or so. There's violence after violence after violence. And people are doing all kinds of things, and we are going to face evil people. I remember a guy at the Y this morning was talking about that, and he says, you really can't say everything is mental. I said, you're right, because I work in the mental field. I said, some people just evil, and you got to call it what it is. And God dealt with evil. And here Jesus says, resist not evil. Don't fight. Don't retaliate. And we'll talk more about that. Yes, I saw your hand. Okay. Now, this is where an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth comes in. As long as you go through the right course of dealing with a problem. Like now we have in our workplace, harassment. If you've been harassed at work, now you can do what? Report it. You go through the right channels and so forth. See, that's another concept for an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. You're not trying to get this person in trouble just for vengeance. You want them to leave you alone, because you want to be able to work. But here, Jesus gives us the picture that we're not always wanting to fight. That every time someone does something to you, you're ready to go after them and say things to them. Let me show you something. Go to 2 Timothy. This came to my mind. Look at 2 Timothy 2. 2 Timothy chapter 2. We're going to look at verse 24. Notice what Paul says to Timothy. And this is a good point. He says in verse 24 of 2 Timothy 2 that the servant of the Lord must not strive, but be gentle unto all men, apt to teach, patient. And if you recall the times that we talked about this, that A servant of the Lord must not strive. That strive is to fight. Always looking for a quarrel. Always got to have the last word. But notice what Paul said using Jesus' character, that you ought to be gentle, patient with all men. Doesn't matter who they are. Doesn't matter if people look at you with just contempt. And it's easy for Satan to try to get in you. And you're going to show them what for and all that. But think about the bigger picture. Are you, going back to Matthew 5, verse 13 through 16, are you the light of the world? Are you the salt of the earth? When we act that way. What's the bigger picture? Who's supposed to get the glory? God does. And that's why Jesus acted the way he did. Because God would get the glory. And we'll hit some more of these. Now, oh, yes. Yeah, someone. Well, now, are you stating it from what? Are you stating it from Matthew 18 principle? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's true about the brother. Now, we're going to put it a little deeper. This is not your brother in Christ. It's the world, right? So how do we act in the world where some people don't care about your feelings? They don't care. I mean, they can care less. They'll stump all over you if they, want to or try to anyway. And so Jesus is he's giving us a picture here right now, and we're going to complete this picture. All right? Look at the next one, verse 40. If a man will sue thee at law and take away thy coat, let him have that cloak also. Now, this is kind of not, you got to look at the bigger picture here. Here's a person that you're in the wrong, basically, okay? And this person is going to sue you. This person is going to take you to the law. Here's what Jesus says. You make things right with that person as quick as you can. You don't try to fight it. You may still have to go to law, but you show them, hey, you know what? If I were wrong someone, and we can wrong someone, right? That I'm going to make things right with that person. I'm not going to go back and forth, tit for tat, get in the fight. I'm going to make things right. Give them your cloak. If they take it from you, all right, give it to them. Okay? Now, isn't that what suing other people try to take things from you? Money and so forth. So, okay, here's the principle. I need to do all I can to make things right when things are wrong. When things are wrong and I know that I can go an extra mile to make things right, I need to do that. Notice, we need to do that in our marriage. We need to do this when it comes to friends, fellow employees, when even among people that are not too kind. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let it go. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just you're not making a big fuss out of things. If you got to leave somewhere, if that's going to make things better, you know. And if we are in the wrong, try to make it right. You know, that's the whole point. If you're in the wrong, you just gotta make it right, and so forth. It's totally different how the world thinks. Yes.
My sisters and I are always talking about what we would do if we met a Karen.
A Karen? Oh, there's a lot of Karens around here. Is anybody named Karen here? No. Okay, I was kidding. Okay.
Those people that just want to attack you for no reason or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
or because I'm a black woman, whatever.
Right.
And we often talk about it because I don't want to react. Keep saying, what will we do? What will we do?
Mm-hmm.
Walk away, I hope. I'm
Yeah.
afraid that I'll walk away.
Yeah. Now, what I'm trying to get across to you is it making sense, because this is kind of new. This, you know, the Sermon on the Mount, some of the sermons and principles here are the most disturbing principles, because Jesus is saying, go all out to make things right. Make peace with things. That person is really hurting themselves if they try to hurt you. You're doing the good thing. You're literally acting like how God would act. And Jesus, throughout his ministry, he acted the same way, you know. Think how many times he was insulted, talked about, tried to be killed, but God had a time that he was going to be crucified. And so, and even Paul here lets us know that, Paul said, look here, a servant of the Lord must not strive. Always in a fight, okay, quarreling. Now,
Can I ask something?
sure.
So I just want to make sure I'm understanding
Mm-hmm.
principle.
Okay.
So, Norma usually always have to use me. So, me and Norma, Norma is, I'm suing Norma.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm trying to get all I can out of her just to be, trying to get what I can from Norma. So, Norma, being the person she is, she's showing love and she ain't trying to
Mm-hmm.
fight with me on it. Okay. So, God's gonna take care of her,
Mm.
but me being in the wrong, I'm gonna be the one hurt by God,
Mhm.
right? Is that right?
Yeah. God is able to take care of you. The eyes of the Lord is over the righteous.
So don't
And
worry
his-
about it when people, that's what you say.
But guess what the problem is? Guess what the number one problem is why we try to fight? Pride. Right? Pride. Ain't nobody gonna tell me what to do. Ain't nobody gonna hurt me, you know. Pride. That's one of the reasons why it's sometimes hard to take on some of the characters of Christ, because of our own pride. And we have to be careful with that. Now look at the next one. The next one is very interesting. Whosoever shall compel thee to go 1 mile, go with him twain or 2. Now, this is talking about the Roman soldiers. This is interesting. This is very interesting. The Roman soldiers could make you go at least 1 mile, and they would have to stop. But a child of God would go ahead and do what the Roman soldier said, because they're supposed to be in charge. And you may say, I would even go 2. That I'm going to comply with what you want me to do. I'm not going to fight you on what you want me to do. Now think about today, when people go against authority figures, they've been arrested and so forth, and they're not complying to it, and it causes all kinds of problems. And usually, I think history shows that when people did what Jesus is talking about, the Roman soldiers just leave them alone. You comply. You go says God doesn't exist. It's like one of the finest passages that you can read is Romans 3, and you say, is Romans 3 the same, was it happening the same time that Paul? Let's read that. Since you brought that up, I'm going to show you something. Has things really changed? Let's look at something. Look in Romans chapter 3. Everybody go there. I think this would be a good time to look at that. Romans 3 here. Let's see where I want to start. I'm just going to start. Well, the whole world is guilty before God. I tell you what, I'm just going to start at verse 9. I'm just going to read. So everybody put your reading glasses on and let's read it. Romans 3, look at verse 9. What then? We are better than they? Well, here, Paul is talking about, are we better than the Gentiles or the world? No, in no wise, for we have before proved both Jews and Gentiles that they are all under sin. Okay? As it's written, there is none righteous, no, not one. There is none that understandeth. There is none that seeketh after God. I notice that. They are all gone out their way. They are together become unprofitable. There is none that doeth good, no, not one. Their throat is an open sepulchre. With their tongues they have used deceit, the poison of asp, and under their lips, whose mouths are full of cursing and bitterness. Their feet are swift to shed blood. Destruction and misery are in their ways. The way of peace have they not known. There is no fear of God before their eyes. Now we know that whatsoever the law says, it says to them who are under the law, that every mouth may be stopped, and all the world may become guilty before God. So, does that sound like our society? Anything changed in the time of Paul? No, not really. Same old thing. We just more aware of it. We in tune of it. You know, with y'all 85-inch TVs, you can see more of it. That's what it is. So let's go back. Now, I'm gonna get. Let's see what we got. We're gonna do it. We're on time. Verse 42. Give to him that asked thee, and from him that was barred of thee, turn not thy way. Okay, so just be a giving person, right? Just be a giving person, not always wanting something back. We live in a society, people always want money for something. You know? Notice verse 43. Ye have heard that it has been said, thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thy enemy. But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them that despitefully use you and persecute you. Now, here's what I want you to see. Here's the question I want to ask. Did the Old Testament teach that we supposed to love our neighbors and hate our enemies? That's kind of a question. Did it ever teach that? What's the answer? No, it never taught that. Okay. It never taught that. Now, let me show you something. Everybody go to Exodus 23. You're going to say, whoa, look at that. Exodus 23. Yeah, turn to Exodus 23. Look at verse 2. It says, thou shalt not follow a multitude to do evil. That's a good verse there. Underline that. Remember when we studied Proverbs? That was a thing. Neither shalt thou speak in a cause to decline after many to wretch judgment. This is a perfect verse for rioting. You know, people that riot are going to do evil. This is a good one. Neither shalt thou countenance a poor man in his cause. if thou meet thy enemy ox or his ass going astray, thou shalt surely bring it back to him again. Now, go ahead and let it sink in. How many of us, if your real enemy animal, let's say it was a dog, well, it's a dog, but I don't think we have oxes in our backyard. That you have a dog, you see their dog out, they're your enemy. I mean, you've got a problem with it. Would you return their dog? That's the question, isn't it? And notice, God even cared for the animals. He said, you need to return that ox back to him. Or his donkey. Your enemies now. Just think about it. Your enemies. Now watch. It says, and if thou see the eyes of him that hateth thee lying under his burden, wouldest thou forbear to help him, that thou should surely help with him? Notice that. Those that hate you will lie against you. And you see their animal in trouble. They're in trouble. Would you help them? Do we supposed to help them? Yes, we do. Now, okay, now this is, but just think about it. Some people can really get under your skin in such a way, they may not do you like that. You know what I'm saying? If they saw your animal, your dog out, and they hate you, they may not do it. But we supposed to do it for them. In Christ. Now watch this. Tie this verse in. Look at Proverbs 25, when we study Proverbs. Proverbs 25, and look at verse 21. 25:21. This is how you know that these people just coming up with things and Jesus was trying to tell them the right thing. Because the Old Testament never said that to hate your enemies and love your neighbor. Notice verse 21 of chapter 25. It says, if thy enemy be hungry, give him bread to eat. And if he be thirsty, give him water to drink. For thou shalt heap coals of fire upon his head, and the Lord shall reward thee. Look at that. I can't determine what somebody else is going to do. I need to do what I'm supposed to do. We're supposed to do the right thing. Now, let's go back to Matthew 5 and see how Jesus finished this out. Because we're very familiar with these verses. I'm going to read 43 again. Ye have heard that it has been said, thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thy enemy. Now, we already showed that's not true, right? In the Old Testament. But I say unto you, love your enemy, bless them and what? Curse you. Do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you. Something to think about, it. This is the type of people that turn the world upside down when people saw Christians living like Jesus. And we're supposed to love our enemy. Now, quickly turn to Luke chapter 6. So someone say, does Luke chapter 6 have a Sermon on the Mount too? And yes, it does. But we're going to look at some aspects of Luke chapter 6. And you can write that in your notes. Look at verse 27. It says the same thing of Luke 6. But I say unto you, which hear, love your enemies, do good to them that hate you. Bless them that curse you, and pray for them that despitefully use you. You ever had anybody that despitefully 35 of Luke chapter 6. Notice what it says. It says, but love ye your enemies and do good, lend hoping for nothing again, and your reward shall be great. Ye shall be the children of the highest, for he is kind unto the unthankful and to the evil. There's a lot of folks running around here, live every day, wake up, go to work, do anything. They don't think God not won't do it. God is still good. And we have to show the same type of principle to the everyday man. That's the only way people really want to see who God is through us. This is what the church is supposed to look like. Think about, we teach about doctrinal things, like this is it, but look at our lifestyle. Our lifestyle is supposed to be strong too. People need to see it. All right. Now here's what I want you to do. Next week, Lord's willing, we start at chapter 6. We hit the perfect time. Perfect time. Chapter 6 is actually going to have the theme, why do we serve? What's the motivation of us serving? Go ahead and read all chapter 6. Study it. We're going to talk about it. We're going to go back over chapter 5 some, just review some things. Because I really want you to learn the Sermon on the Mount. I want you to know its principles. I want someone to tell me I have been living like a person with poor spirit. I've been living like a person that mourns. I've been living like a person that's meek. I've been living like a person that's only a person after righteousness. Okay? That you really need to study. Yes. Yeah, pride is